I am Peggy van der Plesch. I am the author of Paris, Mushrooms and Me. It's a memoir on microdosing psychedelics for personal transformation. So you can think of Bridget Jones meets Eat Pray Love with a microdosing twist. So I write and speak on personal transformation, mental health, psychedelics, and writing. So today I'd like to discuss how to unstuck ourselves. So I got stuck many times in my life, in my career, my finance, in my personal relationships, in my personal growth. And I speak with a lot of people who also feel stuck in their lives. So I wanted to share some simple, fast, and free techniques you can use to unstuck yourself. And before that, I want to remind you of Einstein's definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I think that's a good frame of mind for us. So there are two main streams that happen in parallel to get unstuck. The first is to change things, and the second is to declutter. So changing things, like you cannot have the same thoughts, say the same words, do the same things, and expect new opportunities to show up. It seems obvious when we are stuck in a rut, we forget about the basics. But like you can start with small things. The goal is really to get your creative juices flowing and break the autopilot you're on. So I would say the first is external. So start doing things that you don't usually do. They don't have to be big, they don't have to take time, they don't have to be expensive. It can be eating a different food, reading a different type of books, watch a documentary on a topic you don't know about, speak with new people, go see a concert, whatever. It is all about making a different and deliberate choice. And I would say ideally align these new activities with what interests you. So for example, I wanted to be more artsy, you might want to be more artsy for whatever reason, but you don't have resources to allocate. Well, you can start by reading the art section of your business newspaper instead of scrolling through social media for the 11th time today. You can watch a documentary on an artist instead of watching a football game, a TV reality, or whatever show. You can go to a museum with a friend versus going for a drink, as we tend to do. So it will require you to be present and to make an effort versus following the usual pattern. So that will open your mind to new ideas and is going to build new neural pathways. So a few years ago, I started a challenge with myself that I called the Year of Yes. And for 1 year, instead of systematically saying no to things that I usually didn't do, I said yes. So I went to concerts, I spoke to a conference in Bogota, I traveled to a retreat in Tulum. Anyway, you get the concept. It was great to discover new places and new people, but more importantly, I became more flexible and also less fearful of experimenting new things. So I would recommend that. And I would say internally, doing new things is great, as you will start seeing yourself differently. The presence required to make different choices is excellent to start changing your thoughts. So for me, changing things externally really broke this autopilot, and I started noticing my thoughts. And it was not necessarily pretty. As I mentioned in the past, I've been plagued with very, very negative thoughts for a very long time. And, I was always expecting a catastrophe to happen. So I was holding on very, very tight, trying to control everything in my life, which was exhausting. So I started by changing small thoughts. So instead of, that networking event is going to be painful, I tried, or maybe I'm going to meet interesting people. These are small change, but they add up. So if you are more present, you can more easily monitor your thoughts and swap them for something more aligned, once again, with a person you would like to be more of. So perception is reality. Really thinking differently will help unstuck yourself. The second stream is decluttering. So I was never a fan of Marie Kondo, I have to say. I could not understand the concept of decluttering and why it was so popular. until I understood that if I wanted to bring new things in my life, you need to make space for them. And decluttering is also a great way to unstuck yourself, because you really create new space for new opportunities. So decluttering externally, I mean, that's easy to understand. You get rid of the stuff you don't like, you don't use, you don't even know you own. You can donate, recycle, tailor, there are plenty of ways to make these items useful for you or for others, preferably for others. I had this experience where I had this massive locker that was costing me like $350 a month, which I kept for years. And it was filled with books, clothes, inventory from a failed business, stuff. I didn't even know what was in there. And I would have rather bought something I knew was in the locker versus going and trying to find it. And every month I was complaining about paying, about having to empty it. And every month I was not doing anything about it, and for years. So one day what I did, I just gave my notice. So I would not have any other choice than to empty it. So it just took me a few days to go through that, many trips to the Salvation Army and closing bins. But I eventually did it. And I mean, some of the clothes were even brand new, which I mean is a shame, but I knew they would make other people happy. So now I don't have to pay and I don't have to think about it anymore. So it takes a lot of mental and physical space to have clutter and unfinished project. It is better to come to terms with the fact that some of these projects seem cool, but unrealistic. I mean, who doesn't want a home microbrewery, a gym, a spa-like equipment? But I mean, are you really going to do it? Same thing. Will you ever fit back in your pre-pandemic outfits? Is it helpful to keep them and on top of that remind you that you're not fitting in your clothes anymore? Probably not. So all the unread books and magazine, close to small, healthy food that we'll never eat and so on, are taking out a lot of space physically, mentally, and they're making us feel guilty as well. So they're taking us precious resources we could allocate elsewhere. So very often when we try to get unstuck, we add things. A new course, a new book, a new membership. But actually the best way to create space is to remove the old to create new opportunities. And, getting rid of useless stuff physically will, create space in your mind because you won't constantly see it and think about it. So I used to have this 2-page long to-do list with everything from the most important to the most menial, the most urgent to the least. Anyway, it was just make me feel constantly overwhelmed by the number of things I had to do. Now my to-do list is extremely short and realistic. If I don't really plan on doing something in the short terms, I just remove it. I don't need aspirational items, and because that list will suck up my mental space and energy. Same thing with emails. I used to answer every email in 24 hours with very detailed and personalized answers. Now I only answer right away to what is important and urgent for me, and then I see if the other messages grant an answer or not. So I've been saving a lot of headspace, guilt, and time. And last, I also lightened the load on my schedule a lot. And I did that because I learned to say no. It took me 40 years to do that, but I did it. And now I put my own agenda first. So my most productive time is in the morning. I keep that time for my creative work. Lunchtime is best for my meetings and afternoons for administrative tasks. So I now organize my time accordingly, starting with my own rhythm and priority in mind versus trying to accommodate everybody's schedule but mine. So creativity needs space, and getting us stuck is all about creating space and energy for new opportunities. So again, you don't have to add anything that will consume time, money, energy. Do less and different, think less and different, and very quickly you will see possibilities where previously you were only seeing walls, And also, obviously, microdosing psychedelics helps quite a bit to see more options and unstuck yourself if you're interested by that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please add any comments and questions below. Subscribe to get future insights. And I'm wishing you a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.